people is traded for political convenience. Now the 120 days are over. The promises have collapsed. The excuses have run dry. The reckoning must begin. Let it be said plainly to every Ghanaian. You were not given a reset. You were sold a recycled failure. And now the clock has run out. Accountability must take center stage. Let history record this moment, not as a dawn of renewal, but as a day the veil of betrayal was torn away. Now, let me give you the details. The promise of constitutional fidelity shall strive to exercise sound judgment and be willing to act timelessly to resolve our challenges, end quote. But when faced with a clear breach of Article 286, when its appointees fail to declare their assets before taking office as constitutionally required, he did not act lawfully. He invented a bizarre punishment, a 3-month salary forfeiture, no referral to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, no investigations, no accountability. What the president did was not a legal remedy. It was a constitutional betrayal. By failing to uphold the law, the president brought his own oath and the entire presidency into disrepute. Address. Mr. President personally said that he was going to secure our sub-region and quote, we must work together to keep our sub-region safe, end quote. Yet under his own watch, Boku bleeds. Yeah. Boku bleeds. Boku is still bleeding. The president offers neither decisive intervention pegging seasoned, loyal, and trusted officers and replacing them with partisan subordinates. The fact is, the government is not protecting the state. The government, President Mahama promised Ghanaians that he would act decisively and swiftly as our country's leader. In his much trumpeted social contract with the people of Ghana, President Mahama solemnly pledged, quote, ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves, roll out our Tree for Life and Blue Water Initiative to heal and sustainably harness the environment, end quote. And yet, illegal mining has flourished under his silence. Foreign nationals caught in Galamsey operations are deported, not prosecuted, contrary to the campaign promises. The promised repeal of the LI 2462 remains unfulfilled. The rivers continue to run red. The forests are gashed open. And the president who accused Nana Akufo-Addo's administration of inaction on illegal mining and promised decisive action offers excuses. The government's inaction on illegal mining is not just disappointing, it is a betrayal. While in opposition, the NDC loudly declared that if elected, they would impose a state of emergency to confront Galamsey head-on. But 120 days into the government, not only have they failed to do so, that they have completely abandoned the agency they once preached. Illegal mining continues to devastate our rivers, poison our land, and displace entire communities. The promised state of emergency has vanished, replaced by silence and inaction, while the sector minister sheds crocodile tears on national television over a sorry state of our rivers, forests, and farmland. This is not leadership. This is not leadership. It is cowardice dressed in empty campaign rhetoric. It therefore came without a surprise to the people of Ghana when recently, on May Day, organized labor, speaking through its Secretary General, boldly condemned the extent to which Galamsey is destroying our environment. And to quote organized labor, Galamsey has worsened within the few months that the NDC assumed office. So all the 8 years that they said the NPP was unsuccessful in dealing with the Galamsey issue, today, organized labor is boldly telling us and saying it to the face of the NDC administration that within this short period of governance, the situation has worsened. I leave it to your judgment. Inclusivity abandoned. Mr. President promised the nation of a leadership of inclusiveness. Today, what we see is a massacre of livelihoods. In his inaugural speech, Mr. President declared, every Ghanaian has the opportunity to contribute to our nation's story, end quote. And yet, since taking office, his government has waged an unprovoked war on public and civil servants. Thousands of civil servants, especially the youth, have been dismissed, not for corruption and incompetence, but for getting employed by the state before his return to the presidency. In their place, party executives are being recruited. Teachers who were recruited and posted into remote communities to teach have been sent home. Nurses who were recruited and were in hospitals and at our health centers helping the poor have been sent home. Efforts to recruit more nurses have been put on hold. Those who graduated from nursing schools and expected to be posted are still at home, have become desperate. And we have a government that is rather creating more unemployment than employment. We say this is not inclusivity. This is not inclusiveness. This is ideological cleansing. This is not a present for all. It is a government for only the NDC. We have two Ghana now. Yes. The Ghana for the NDC, where only their party's foot soldiers enjoy, and the Ghana for others who must go through a bitter experience, pain, and misery. Youth empowerment has now reduced to a mere PR stunt. President Mahama told our youth on January 7th, quote, "This movement is a powerful affirmation that your voices matter. We are committed to creating opportunities for education, entrepreneurship, and employment," end quote. But those words now mock reality. The ambitious marks. Darkness, darkness, darkness. Mr. President promised to fix Ghana's energy crisis. He accused his predecessor of failure. Although NPP came to meet Dumso and fixed the Dumso, yet during the campaign, Mr. President and his party rather accused NPP of not keeping the light on. But let's all be honest with ourselves. The last 120 days, we have seen persistent power outages, low voltage, and silence in the face of national inconvenience. Not a single moment, a single day, has the energy minister addressed the Ghanaian people on the energy crisis. Where is the energy minister? Is he lost in this darkness? We are taking a torchlight looking for the energy minister. We cannot find the energy minister. Mr. Energy Minister, where are you? Bring back our lights. The emerging power crisis during the second term of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama obviously will be deeper, and it appears that it's going to be darker and deadlier. Across the country, businesses are gradually grinding to a halt, industries are scaling back production, and hospitals are struggling to save lives without consistent electricity. Yet they go to the hospitals and all they know is sacking the chief executives. Sack them. Sack them. Sack them. That is all that the ministers are doing. Targeting chief executives and sacking them instead of putting on the lights. Home appliances are burning out. Livelihoods are vanishing. And the national mood is collapsing under the weight of government inaction. What we are seeing today is not intermittent disruption. It is a national emergency. And yet, the Mahama administration continues to offer excuses instead of solutions. Instead of resolving the problems, he recites blames like a broken record. Ghanaians deserve lights, not lectures. Leadership is action, not endless lamentation and blame game. Mr. President, NDC government, bring back our lights. You were not elected to lament. You were elected to do the work and fix the lights and fix the problem. You promised in your sona that you were going to fix the problems. You are not fixing the problems. Fix the problems. Now, assault on the judiciary, the rule of law under siege. His Excellency promised, quote, reset the faith in leaders and institutions, end quote. I repeat, His Excellency promised reset of faith in leaders and institutions. But what do we see? He has instead launched a chilling offensive against the judicial independence, attempting to hound the Chief Justice out of office under contrived pretexts while pushing through a 7 hand-picked appointment to the Supreme Court. It has never happened in our democracy where the president makes a direct appointment and more or less coerces the Judicial Council to swiftly, whether they like it or not, approve of same. The practice has always been that nominations are made by various stakeholders. The Ghana Bar has an input. The Office of the Chief Justice has an input. The Judicial Council itself has an input. The government, the president acting through the Attorney General makes an input. And all these names are deliberated upon, discussed in detail, and a recommendation ferried to the president for further action. May I refer the government to the matter of Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General, where Thaddeus Sori, the lead counsel for Ghana Bar, made strong arguments on this matter. It was a situation where the Judicial Council had made some recommendations in a certain order of merits for the president to exercise the discretion of appointment. And even so, the Ghana Bar questioned the exercise of discretion and argued, among others, that since there was an order of merit upon which the recommendation was mounted, the president couldn't have chosen from the bottom, because we have my Lord Mafosau, we had Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, followed by my Lord Yawapao, and then lastly Mr. Scott Puaman, as he then was. Yet the president chose from the bottom two, and Ghana Bar challenged this at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that, well, that recommendation was an advice, and to the extent that all of those four individuals were recommended to the president could choose from the bottom. The president could choose anybody and was not bound by the order of merit. So clearly, a procedure, a practice as to how a justice of the Supreme Court is appointed is known. So why would the president write a letter that he's made appointment and urges that upon the Judicial Council to at all costs approve of same? This is very rich. The president and his government are not on a journey of reform. They are doing court packing. This is dictatorship disguised as democracy, and we, the minority, will not stand for it. Now they are silencing dissent. The return of iron fists. They promised that they will allow free speech, but today even political opponents are threatened. They will send their attack dogs on radio. When they think that you are being critical of them, they start to threaten you. Even journalists come under attack. The Secretary General of TUC, who boldly echoed the views of organized labor, is under attack. Even the views expressed by GBA also came under attack. And then they find a way of using social media to spread fake news and falsify information and crush genuine views expressed to shape governance. But let me remind Mr. President that in his own inaugural address, he called for accountability and promised to fight corruption. Yet, as I've already said, journalists are being harassed. Opposition MPs, like my brother GHOne recently became a target because he had raised a critical national issue which required the security agencies to engage constructively. They personalized it and they made him a target. It was an eyesore when they unleashed NIB officials at his residence, wielding guns and wearing masks. Did we go or did we come? What we are experiencing is another vendetta, and this is not justice, an opportunity for all Ghanaians, rather persecution. They promise constitutional reform, but we don't trust them. What they are doing is not constitutional reform, but they are attempting to create a Trojan horse for perhaps, if not lifetime presidency, a third-term presidency. Already, we have heard the national chairman of the NDC complaining bitterly about the internal struggle for succession. The NDC is abandoning governance and rather thinking of their party interests. Why would the national chairman, no less a person than Mr. Asedu Nkatia, boldly go on radio in less than 90 days be talking about that internal problem? We are also aware that another group in the NDC are pushing for a third term for President Dramani Mahama. Is a reason why, instead of the promised governance and constitutional reforms, we are seeing a new agenda. What we know is that there's a sinister and diabolical plot firmly underway to tighten the president's grip on power and prolong his days in office. So they knew that the firmness of the Chief Justice will not allow this. So they started to unleash their attack dogs on the Chief Justice to try and clear out of the way so that they will have their way. But we, the minority, today tell the NDC government they will never have their way. We see diabolical schemes. We read the signals. And we say this clearly. Ghana is not a monarchy. We will not be ruled for life. We will not let one man's desire for autocracy and unchecked power rewire the constitution to suit the ambitions of a desperate party. So the hawks in the NDC who are so power drunk and are pushing through this third-term agenda, let them stay their hands. The other hawks in the NDC who are thinking succession and are not making it possible for the president to govern, and all they care about is their internal struggle for who succeeds him, we are telling them too that they are hurting the country. The government has already entered it lame duck days, looking at all the signs on the wall. This is affecting the ordinary people, and they should wake up to the reality of their bona fide governance. 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 We are wide awake. The NDC should not be under any false impression that with their 183 plus others in parliament, they will find a way of forcing their way with very unconstitutional reforms through parliament. The mighty minority will not allow them to have their way. We will stand firm with the people of Ghana and fight all illegalities in parliament. We trust that Mr. Speaker would accord us the necessary support to air our views on the floor of the House. Now, let me turn my attention to the private sector. The NDC is collapsing the private sector. The government is punishing producers. On the day of his inauguration, Mr. President called on business leaders to help him shape, quote, an environment where creativity thrives and where fruits of their labor contribute to the collective welfare of our nation, end quote. But 120 days, that appeal has cuddled into betrayal. Businesses across the country, small, medium, and large, are suffocating. Why? Because the very government that promised partnership has become a predator. Yep. Suppliers, contractors, service providers, Ghanaians who finance and fulfill government contracts with their own resources or bank loans have not been paid. Some have been forced to shut down. Others have laid off workers, and countless others have plunged into debt, despair, and ruin. This government is presiding over economic vandalism, masquerading as governance. When the government refuses to pay its debt, it collapses the very economy it claims to lead. Mr. President, you cannot pay the people of Ghana who have sacrificed to work to build our infrastructure, who have supplied to state institutions. You cannot decide not to pay them. This amounts to the government sabotage of business. NDC government, you are ruining the businesses you came to meet. Your actions are becoming a liability. Now, on the import duties, we go on these broken promises on import duties and the COVID-19 levy. In his inaugural speech, the president acknowledged the pain of Ghanaians, promising to change the destiny of this nation of ours. But this government continues to allow what he had called during his days in opposition crashing levies and regressive taxes on the backs of the sovereign people of Ghana. He promised to review and reduce import duties to make easier for traders, importers and consumers. He has not. He promised to abolish the COVID-19 health recovery levy because the pandemic is long past and the people's pockets are exhausted. He has not. Instead, this government has maintained and even compounded the cost of living for every Ghanaian household. Prices continue to surge, markets remain unstable, and traders groan under taxes that, by his own standards, serve no current purpose but enrich a bloated state machinery. Promises under the NDC government are no more sacred. They are just tools for winning elections and excuses for not governing. Betrayal of industrialization, killing jobs, killing hope. The president pledged in January to implement a 24-hour economy to stimulate, quotes, to stimulate local industries and attract investment, end quotes. But instead of building upon the 1D1F initiative, a bold, pragmatic program that used tax incentives to ignite industrialization across Ghana, the government of President Mahama has shelved it. The government has discarded it, abandoned it, and killed it. Factories that were planned under the previous administration now sit idle. Investment plans have stalled. Thousands of potential jobs have vanished before they could materialize. The message to investors in our economy is loud and clear. You are not safe here anymore. Mr. President, your reset is not a lifeline for the economy. It is suffocating lockdown on production. You are not creating jobs. You are killing them. Now it is rich to hear the president tell us in Sona that the flagship project, the flagship program, 24-hour economy, also known as 133, one job, three shifts, would find space in the 2025 budgets. That is what the president told us, that Dr. Forson, his finance minister, will pronounce on the 24-hour economy. But what did we hear? Should find space in your first year budget. If you really mean business, in your first year budget, that should feature. The government has failed us. Government of lamentation, government of talk and less action. What did they say to the women? The women banking. They went to the market. They said that there will be women banking. Every town, every city, every region will have the bank being established. During the vetting, when we asked them, they said they were going to put the necessary support systems in place to get the licenses for this new bank. In their 2025 budget, the Women Banking Initiative was allocated a paltry sum of 50 million cedis. 50 million cedis. And to me, the market women in Winneba, they are more 2,000 Ghana cedis. Ebe, President Mahama. Ebe, President Mahama. Ebe. Menyo lo. Menyo. Yeah. Yet they gave over 6 billion to their so-called Galamsey board. That gold board that they established. Yeah. What is it for? Yeah. Convert $275 million into cedis and get the cedi. They abandoned their own flagship initiatives and agriculture. Agriculture in the budget, they only allocated a paltry sum of 1.5 billion cedis. Even if you break the 1.5 billion cedis down, 950 million alone is for compensation. Yes. So the Erikopoku, the Agric minister sitting at the ministry is a redundant minister. I don't know the work that the Agric minister is doing at the ministry, because there's no budget for his ministry. How are they going to implement the Nkukon Kitinkiti? And then they loaded a lot of money under that so-called big push, which we are going to scrutinize. They did nothing for agriculture. They did nothing for the women banking. Yet they are promoting Galamsey. How do you say that you are establishing a gold board that is going to buy equipment for small-scale miners? How? It is a requirement. Go and read the Minerals Commission Act. If you want to go into mining, one of the requirements is to show your financial capability. You must show that you have the means to go into mining. So if a government tells you that it's going to buy equipment for miners, you should take it with a pinch of salt. What they are telling us indirectly is that their party boys involved in Galamsey are going to get equipment, and they say they are going to give them soft loans. Really? Government going to give loans for mining? They should tell us plainly that they are rather buying equipment, giving them money to promote Galamsey, and that is what we see. Now, they themselves are undertaking some false praise and making some claims. They claim that the city is strong because of the government's effort. I am a businessman. I will be happy any day if our local currency is strong, because that would help grow the business of Ghanaians, including me, who is a private sector player. But that is not the case. In this government administration, we know all they know is dissent. They are claiming credit for what they have not achieved. We know on the global stage, the US dollar itself is having its own challenges. Recently, the ICE US dollar index, measuring the dollar strength against a basket of major currencies, indicated that the US dollar has slipped below 100 as market rule from rising sell America sentiment. The dollar is weakening not because the cedi is strong, but because investors are losing faith in the greenback itself. As Nigel Green, CEO of the Group, warned just last week, quote, "Dollar dominance is being critically diluted. Trump's erratic tariff policies, investor disillusionment with US equities and bonds, and global power realignment are fueling this slow but seismic shifts," end quote. So this is not an NDC miracle. This is a global monetary turbulence. This is currency recalibration on a planetary scale. So I'm telling the finance minister, go and pay the suppliers. Go and pay the contractors. The contractors must get back on the road. Government construction project must resume. Pay the contractors and stop holding back people's money. Now, there may be some few steps forward. We, as a responsible minority, will be objective. What are those few steps forward? Well, we are aware that they managed to take away the e-levy, betting tax and emission levy, that they have said so. But the real issue is that the promise of no academic fee policy for first-year students, they continue to talk about it. Have those students had the refunds made? When Akufo-Addo promised free SHS, it was contained in his first year's budget. Students were not asked to pay for later refund. No. They promised Ghanaian students in the university. what they are telling them is that, we are going to do it. But it's not a talk that we are after. We must equally be clear that some of the achievements that they were talking about yesterday fell far short of the scale and the urgency of the promises they made to the ordinary Ghanaian. You can't just talk about some few achievements that in real terms have no impact on the economy. If you want to talk about achievement, talk about achievements that have made profound impact on the economy. And we invite them to a debate. Their lucky parliament is on break. But we hold on to our submissions and deal with them on the floor of the House. They should tell us the so-called achievement. What real impact have these achievements made on the economy? Zero. Let me quote a policy analyst, Michael Kosi Dede. He noted on Channel 1 TV, that only 9 out of 26 items in President Mahama's 120-day contract have real substance. The reset, he said, are, quote, largely symbolic and cosmetic. I couldn't have agreed with him more. I adopt this submission as though they are mine. And I adopt them because this analyst is speaking to the real issues that confront you and I. When the appointment of ministers, an obligation under the Constitution, was presented as a milestone, I laughed. Clearly, to me, it revealed a government more concerned with optics than outcomes. You claim you've appointed few ministers, but you've appointed more partisan political staffers at the Jubilee House and other state agencies. So what are you talking about? Let me give you one example. Honorable Felix Kwachi Ofosu, the Minister of State responsible for government communications. We are told that the ministry was collapsed and he is there as government spokesperson. But he has some 3 deputies. They say a deputy government spokesperson, a deputy government spokesperson. And then at the same presidency, you have a communication director. At the same presidency, you have a director of research. Then you have a director responsible for agriculture. Ebe. And somebody. So Erikopoku is not competent. Erikopoku, as your lead servant on agriculture, you say that you are appointing a director of agriculture at the presidency to do what? Yet you come back and say, you promised to do less ministers, so we should applaud you. They should do a much more tidy checklist, and they will know that they failed the people of Ghana. So yes, they may try to pat themselves on their back, but clearly there is no clear delivery architecture for many of the initiatives that they've introduced. There is no single policy direction for any sector of the economy clearly outlined by the government for its ministers. No enforcement mechanism, no timelines. In too many instances, governments have substituted symbolism for substance. What we are witnessing is not the architecture of a national renewal. It is a scaffolding of political theater. Ghana does not need praise points. Ghana needs power, jobs, justice, and delivery. The difference is not academic, it is existential. Yep. Let me conclude. Mr. President, you have performed badly, poorly. Indeed, the failures that we have catalogued so far are not exhaustive. The cocoa farmers under NPP, cocoa price per bag was 3,000. They promised to increase it to 6,000. We had it at 3,100. They said they were going to increase it to 6,000. Today, they have reneged on that promise, and they tell us that they didn't know the scale of the challenge. Really? So they didn't know and they were promising. We don't need symbolic gestures. They are only engaged in such practices and neglecting the structures. The deeper you look, the more you find that this government does not aim to transform, but they are engaged and in a regression wrapped in rhetoric. Mr. President, you promised truth, but so far we are seeing evasion. Mr. President, you promised inclusiveness. Today, you are serving us with exclusion. Your Excellency, you promised partnership. But what we are experiencing from your government is punishment. You promised prosperity. What do we see today? Paralysis. NDC, I say to you, you've broken your promise. You have abandoned your own sacred oath as a government. You have abandoned your own manifesto. You've trampled upon the hopes of the nation in search of a meaningful continuity. But this country will not surrender. We, the minority, the mighty minority, will not sit back as you redefine and ruin reforms. We will not let you stretch your stay or mutilate the Constitution. After 120 days, we clearly see your schemes. We see your lame duck days. We see a government without hope. We see bitterness along the way. But we promise the people of Ghana that we will stand by you, we will stand with you, and we know that come the next cycle of elections, NPP will have an opportunity to reset this country on a positive footing for a better Ghana. Thank you so much indeed. Yeah. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make us great and strong. For that one, it is for. Oh. Any
wosom wanyinyiba ewaliba ofioye yamwa yepereye nebeya.
Yen akan stations no ewiabri anope ahen edom kuma ye wo parliament yanyi hen party mpanyinfo yasama ye kan de aneda omampanyin na 120 days nkomo onye twetwen no za okacha Ghana fo no nokorenyim usanda ba wazi she Ghana fo yon na worzidui wo bei nkrofo a wo ye adwuma wo ya abana adwuma wasaka won Ghana ye wom sesi an wo ekreti Ghana bien ekura oye won ze na kura was atagati binum ebio dumso asana babio yanti energy minister nanka ombaka ho hwenkyere omano ebio galamse anwan kasa waka ho asemi pi wasi wana bredo no wobama galamse akofom nde baze na yehu TUC mpanyinfo oye May Day workers day TUC fo kada look nwan kasa ye nhwehwom wehu de mbri kakre ya NDC ba bemi galamse numpo akodo chenza wobebotwe yanko yan judiciary yan court nwa target oye chief justice says ya was onko twen wofie wo ba yan hwehwem e ba bona mami waye onye boni biara oya won yewo buapaye na adwumbo no ho ntim because wonyim da sama minute goda bona wo pede waye wo court won tumi ye says ya za yenyim de NDC funu binum wo pede president Mahama okotete nti wo nim de court no wobotum waye constitutional your friend then declarations nti one target nyen ibinum so instead aben no focus on amembun what do you power succeed president Mahama nti bronyi be say aben.
So just going by, you heard Osahin Alexander Kwabena Penyumark, minority leader, is also the one leading the charge in breaking or putting together what they say is a grand deception from the NDC. But it's time for Newsroom, and coming up this morning, President Mahama ranks his 120 days social contract as delivered, assuring of completion of bold reforms to reset Ghana.
To the people of Ghana and the world observing our progress, let me state clearly, we made promises and we have kept them.
Also, NPP fires back, saying the 120 bitter days of John Dramani Mahama are questions fulfilled promises, and we're live with their counter address.
The President yesterday set some questions for himself, and then afterwards he graded himself and said that 100% or so. That for the past 4 months, it is rather bitter 100 days.
And later, no consensus yet among 133 cardinals on the next pope as black smoke rises again over Sistine Chapel. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I am Joshua Kojo Mensah. Now to our stories now. President Mahama says his administration is the most efficient and leanest in Ghana's Fourth Republic, boasted of a record number of 56 ministerial appointments. Now in a national address on May 7 to mark his first 120 days in office, President Mahama said he had fulfilled his promise to form a lean government within 90 days of assuming office. Among the accomplishments, the president noted that his ministerial appointments were completed within 14 days and the team has since begun active service.
We promise to form a lean and efficient government. I promise to nominate the complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days and to constitute the leanest and most efficient government under the Fourth Republic within the first 90 days. As promised, I announced the complete list of my cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days of being sworn in. They were all successfully vetted and approved, and they have hit the ground running. Indeed, I have so far appointed only 56 ministers and deputies so far, the smallest number of ministers and deputies appointed by any president in the Fourth Republic. We've also nominated our metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives, and they are going through the various phases of confirmation to complete the formation of our governance team at the local level. Establishing a robust code of conduct. I have committed to establishing a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials to instill integrity and accountability from day one. Building on my previous efforts, we have reworked and finalized a significantly improved version of the Code of Conduct for government appointees.
So that's John Dramani Mahama yesterday, where he ranked himself or rated himself 72% in terms of the deliverables that were achieved in the 120-day social contracts with Ghanaians. But Minority Leader Alexander Kwamna has delivered a sharp critique of the John Mahama administration's much publicized 120-day social contracts, dismissing it as lacking substance and driven more by electoral ambition than strategic governance. Describing the initiative as a bitter pill, Alexander Kwamna accused the National Democratic Congress of designing the contract solely to secure votes in the 2024 elections without outlining a clear practical roadmap for implementation. Osahin argued that the Mahama government has spent its early days in office reacting to problems rather than advancing a coherent and proactive policy agenda. The Minority Leader also questioned the tangible outcomes achieved within the 120-day period, alleging that the administration has favored optics and political theater over real impactful reforms. Here are excerpts.
Youth empowerment has now reduced to a mere PR stunt. President Mahama told our youth on January 7th, quote, "This movement is a powerful affirmation that your voices matter. We are committed to creating opportunities for education, entrepreneurship, and employment," end quote. But those words now mock reality. The ambitious one student, one laptop policy of the NPP government has been shelved. In its place, a flashy, empty promises to train 1 million youth in coding without equipment, personnel, or infrastructure. Did we go or did we come? Governance has been reduced into theatrics and empty promises. Today, we, the mighty minority, boldly remind the president that the digital transformation cannot be downloaded onto our national digital network by beautiful speeches and launching ceremonies. And Ghana's youth deserve tools, not talking points. I repeat, the youth of Ghana deserve tools, not talking points. Power sector sabotage. From light to darkness. From light to darkness. When Ghanaians say let there be light, the NDC say let there be darkness. So we have a Doomsaw Pro Max. Darkness, darkness, darkness. Mr. President promised to fix Ghana's energy crisis. He accused his predecessor of failure. Although NPP came to meet Dumso and fixed the Dumso, yet during the campaign, Mr. President and his party rather accused NPP of not keeping the light on. But let's all be honest with ourselves. The last 120 days, we have seen persistent power outages, low voltage, and silence in the face of national inconvenience. Not a single moment, a single day, has the energy minister addressed the Ghanaian people on the energy crisis. Where is the energy minister? Is he lost in this darkness? We are taking a torchlight looking for the energy minister. We cannot find the energy minister. Mr. Energy Minister, where are you? Bring back our lights. A procedure, a practice as to how a justice of the Supreme Court is appointed is known. So why would the president write a letter that he's made appointment and urges that upon the Judicial Council to at all costs approve of same? This is very rich. The president and his government are not on a journey of reform. They are doing court packing. This is dictatorship disguised as democracy. And we, the minority, will not stand for it.
Well, we're bringing you a counter from the camp of the NDC on the claims made by Osahin Alexander Kwamna Fenyomarkin, who is the minority leader who led the charge also this morning. But governance expert Professor Ajerim Boateng has called the Mahama-led administration's first 120 days as very efficient. Now, referencing some of his initiatives, the governance expert noted President Mahama has established an authority within his cabinet, which is laudable and good for country's development.
So many things stand out. It's not a single thing I can put my thumb on. You know, when you think of the way he was able to put the cabinet together within 14 days and send it to Parliament, and Parliament approved them and all that. And they started work seriously from the word go. And that we know is the leanest, the smallest government that we have had under any of the democracies, not only Fourth Republic alone, all the democracies we've had. You know, military rule, at times the numbers are down. But so far as democracies are concerned, first, second, third, and fourth, I think is the smallest that we have seen. And very efficient, because each person seems to be working very well. And yes, the president has set a tone for the cabinet. He leading, he has established a code of conduct and standards, which he is following. And yet, he expects all the ministers to follow. And I think that's going well.
Well, still on that social contract, President John Mahama says the COVID-19 levy, which has been a center of controversy, remains the only tax he has not removed among the four he promised to repeal within his first 120 days. Now, speaking on his achievements in an address to the nation, President Mahama attributed the inability to revoke the levy to its intricate linkages with the International Monetary Fund program.
We have delivered on 3 of these 4 specific tax repeals as promised. The COVID levy has intricate linkages to the existing IMF program. As a value-added tax, we have agreed with our multilateral partners to include it in our overall VAT rationalization exercise that is scheduled for September this year.
From that shortly, and legal practitioner Ghana Manti has warned that recent revelations made by former National Signals Bureau boss Kwabena Edubuahene could further incriminate him. Edubuahene, who is facing charges including stealing and money laundering alongside his wife Angela, disclosed staggering expenditures on national security and intelligence operations between 2020 and 2024 in a memo which was released yesterday, reportedly in an attempt to absolve himself of some of the charges leveled against him. But in an interview, Ghana Manti argued that the disclosures rather strengthened the prosecution's case and further questioned the legal strategy employed by Dubois' lawyers. We'll get you details of this particular development shortly, but let's go on the phone lines now. Speak to a member of the NDC's communications team, Hamza Sumini. He's joined us via Zoom. Now, Hamza was here this morning. We had a conversation ahead of this address. Hamza, it's good to be talking to you now that the NPP has finally also given its verdict on the 120-day social contract between John Mahama and the people of Ghana. Now, they say it is clear deception, a grand agenda. The NDC has failed woefully. In fact, they talk about the power sector, they talk about Dumso, where they are asking where the energy minister is. Well, what's your take on what you've heard so far from the NPP on their assessment?
Good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers. I think clearly the NPP is still not out of the woods when it comes to the incompetence that they subjected the Republic of Ghana to over the last 8 years. What we are talking about is a 120-day social contract the National Democratic Congress entered into with the good people of this country. And there were benchmarks to the 120-day social contract. There are 25 promises we indicated that His Excellency President Mahama would honor in his first 120 days. So if you are going to run commentary or any assessment on our performance so far, the yardstick should be that 120-day or the 25 promises that we set out and promised that we're going to do. Have you seen anywhere in the 120-day social contract where we have indicated that we are going to resolve all the problems in the energy sector? Have we seen anywhere in the 120-day social contract where we have indicated that we are going to deal with every other issue associated with illegal mining or Golamsey in a matter of 120 days? Absolutely not. So these kind of tangential responses should be treated with the contempt that it deserves. We have a 4-year mandate to deliver as a party and as a government, and that is what we are committed to. What we set out to do is related to the 25 promises that we have made. They should go and take the promises one after the other and indicate to us where they think that we have faulted in terms of our commitment to those promises. So until that is done, His Excellency has 4 years to lead this country, and at the end of the day, Ghanaians will measure him by that 4-year standard. If they want us to engage in meaningful discourse, let them tie themselves to the 25 promises that we said we'll do. In any case, the NPP is still talking about the energy sector. I indicated not long ago the kind of debt they left us as far as the energy sector is concerned. The energy minister has had cause to indicate that at least we are indebted to the tune of about 80 billion Ghana cedis.
Yes.
That was not the NDC's debt. It was not a debt left over by the National Democratic Congress. They left us in that mess. And His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and his energy minister are working daily to ensure that we meet these challenges in the bud. And I can assure you that we are not a government mandate given power to lament. And so we'll do everything within our power to ensure that we respond to many of these challenges as the days go by. But until that is done, they must limit themselves to the 25 promises we indicated that we're going to do and tell us where they think that we have faulted.
Well, in relation to the specifics of the 25 promises, you recall, and we had that conversation this morning, that COVID levy still remains. The minority says, despite the explanation given, it's a failure that President John Mahama must admit to.
What failure? Is it? When it comes to the time that we're coming, we knew that these were promises that we had to fulfill. But remember, even before the election, we also indicated that we're dealing with a very honest president, and that at any point in time, we feel challenged in terms of the things that we said we'll do, we'll be candid and look the Ghanaian people in their eyes and tell them to give us time to be able to respond to them. Excellency President Mahama indicated last night that yes, we indicated that we were going to take out a number of taxes, including COVID levy. We have taken out a chunk of them, but the COVID levy is part of the value-added tax regime. And there's the need for us to work on our value-added tax regime because in Africa, it ranks amongst the highest, about 22%. There's the need for us to bring that down. So there's no point taking out COVID levy now and now going back to spend more time and energy to present another legislation before Parliament to deal with the reductions as far as the VAT components are concerned. Why don't we do so holistically? And that is what we are doing. And that is why he indicated that by September, the reports would have been out and the needed legislation would have been presented before Parliament for the necessary action to be taken.
Right.
So what is wrong with that? We have not said anywhere that we have fulfilled any corruption-related allegations since His Excellency President Mahama took office. Unlike them, you remember, in less than 100 days in office, they were having to deal with Movenpina, contaminated oil, and Nanado Dankwa.
Very well.
So these are commendable steps.
Right.
And it is intended to engender public trust once more in our political space. So the NPP can still engage in their politics of deception, but they must be honest enough to accept that change has come to stay and change is happening under His Excellency President John Dramani.
Very well. Hamza, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll leave you there. Hamza Suyini is a member of the NDC's communications team. Now, President says Cabinet has approved crucial amendments to both the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act and the Labour Act. Now, this is aimed at enhancing social protection and create an enabling environment for the 24-hour economy policy to promote conducive business and labour relations. He addressed this in his evaluation of the first 120 days of governance.
Policies for job creation and economic transformation is the 24-hour economy policy. We promise to commence drafting the needed legal amendments and prepare for its implementation within the first 120 days. The program is designed to drive structural transformation across our economy, built on pillars aimed at revamping key sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism. The program rollout has commenced in earnest. The 24-hour Secretariat is collaborating with the Development Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund to operationalize financing pillars for this program. Cabinet has approved amendments to the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act and the Labour Act to include specific clauses regarding 24-hour operations.
Speak to Dr. Ba Ayakusi. He is an economist on this particular development. So, Doc, thank you so much for joining us. Now, in a deal situation, how does a 24-hour economy run? Because we are told that in other jurisdictions, the systems are there to facilitate that. But talk to me about how ideally a 24-hour economy should run.
All right. Thank you. And I want to say good afternoon to our cherished listeners. I think that from an economic perspective, 24-hour economy should be driven by demand. So basically, for a 24-hour economy policy to be effective, we should see snapshots of demand-driven economy. What I mean by that is, investors are there to take advantage of opportunities within the economy. So if investors would want to put on their machines and run for 24 hours in a day, then there should be production needs that they need to fulfill. So I think that one of the key principles you need to understand is that government, through its procurement system, should be able to ensure there is some form of local content that the local private partner or the local private businesses are saddled with, so that they respond to those things to extend the number of hours they need to be able to work for 24-hour economy to be effective. So basically, one of the key fundamentals that we should see some things in government procurement drive to make some concessions for local content, so that we see that pushing our local people to work 24/7.
Right.
That aside, we would also need infrastructure.
Right.
electricity. We see snipers of doomsday here and there. It's not pervasive as we had in the past. But I think that if 24-hour economy is supposed to work and work effectively, infrastructure, i.e. electricity, road, even safety at night, are things that we should focus on and then be able to improve them for 24-hour economy to be effective.
Very well. But Doc, I mean, it was one of the trump cards of the NDC when campaigning that we are going to experience the 24-hour economy. Some say after 120 days, we should have seen something. Do you think we are asking too much as it stands now?
Well, as a trained economist, I don't think 24-hour, 120 days is good enough a time for us to have any serious, meaningful evaluation of the government's performance.
Right.
If not for politics, I don't think there should be a starter. Right? We should see some indicators, but evaluating it is a challenge to me. It's too short a time to actually have a good evaluation on the government on this particular policy, which is the 24-hour economy.
Right.
It takes time.
It takes time.
Policies have to be changed.
Right.
So
but are we ready from your assessment? Are we ready for the 24-hour economy?
Come again, are we what?
I'm asking if we are ready as a country for the 24-hour economy, from what you see.
So far as government is willing to use its procurement, prowess to be able to create that space, so far as we are willing to dedicate resources to ensure that we have good infrastructure in place, why not? We are ready.
Right. Doc, thank you so much. It's exciting speaking to you, but clearly then that's where the conversation lies here with regards to the 24-hour economy and matters horizon. This is Newsroom here on GHOne television. I'm Joshua Kojo Mensah. We'll take a breather. When we return, we do have more for you. Stick and stay. Welcome back to the bulletin. Legal practitioner Wayo Ganamanti has warned that recent revelations made by former National Signals Bureau boss Kwabena Edubuahin could further incriminate him. Edubuahin, who is facing charges including stealing and money laundering alongside his wife Angela, disclosed staggering expenditures on national security and intelligence operations between 2020 and 2024 in a memo released yesterday, reportedly in an attempt to absolve himself of some of the charges leveled against him. But in an interview, Ganamanti argued that the disclosures rather strengthened the prosecution's case and further questioned the legal strategy employed by Edubuahin's lawyers.
Lawyers of Mr. Edubuahin are not doing him any good. In fact, the duty of a lawyer is to be diligent and get your client out of trouble, especially if it's a criminal prosecution. We're taught that the first thing you must think of is how to get your client out of danger, especially when it's criminal offense, because it is about going to jail or getting the freedom. And I would say that the letter from Mr. Dubois himself, as you have given to the public, now incriminates him. That letter of 5th May 2025, he is now admitting that Attorney General is making certain assertions, and those assertions are in respect of some transfers, withdrawals, or special operation accounts linked to assets he doesn't know, and some few assets that he is aware of. That area alone raises the issue of prima facie. So you see how Mr. Dubois himself has incriminated himself. Article 286 says, be very careful when you are in public service of conduct that will not conflict your personal interest and your duty. The moment his wife comes in, that alone breaches Article 286 of the Constitution on the Code of Conduct of Public Officers. So what it is that his lawyers have now, in fact, given up, because that letter of 5th May has grounded Attorney General's prosecution.
Meanwhile, the NDC has downplayed the essence of revelations made by Dubois in arguing that the memo does little to nothing to exonerate him. In an interview on GHOne today, member of the NDC's communications team, Hamza Suyini, stated that the memo lacks the legal weight to counter his substantive charges of money laundering and stealing.
He did not mention the name of the National Democratic Congress. As far as I'm concerned, we funded our elections from beginning to the end. So possibly he needs to come clear. What is he talking about? That is for the courts to determine. It is not for the National Security Coordinator to determine.
That the issues have national security implications?
Absolutely. Whether indeed that information should be disclosed or not, it is not for the National Security Coordinator to determine. The state has done its investigation. It has filed charges against you. They are in the law courts. Yours is to come and defend yourself. If you are unable to defend yourself because of an act, that is left unto you.
He said he held back from the interrogators when they were engaging him. He didn't want to disclose because he knows very well that it will have serious consequences.
That's the point I'm making. What consequences? In any case, what consequences?
You don't see anything like
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What consequences? And that's the point I'm making. So because it has consequences, you will not give out investigation to another state agency that is investigating, in this case, the Attorney General's Department and IOCO. What prevented him from referring that state institution to engage with national security, if indeed their moves are sincere? IOCO is the investigator, and Robonacha is the investigator.
Yes. He says Robonacha is twisting and distorting facts.
So his responsibility is to go to court and demonstrate to Raymond Archer and our state attorneys that indeed what you have is inaccurate.
Well, so that's the conversation there. It's time to bring in the latest in the world of business. Now in business this afternoon, 2 startup enterprises in Ghana have received 4 million cedis funding through the UK-backed Transform initiative. The support, presented at an award ceremony in Accra, aims to scale operations in agriculture and sustainability. Now this initiative forms part of a broader effort to drive innovation across the region. The following report has more.
Transform West Africa, an impact-driven accelerator led by the UK government, Unilever, and professional services firm EY, is backing innovative startups across the region. The initiative offers grant funding, tailored business insights, and access to influential networks to help scale businesses and drive job creation. Among the latest recipients of the support are Upcyclers, a digital waste management startup, and Minana Services, a growing enterprise in palm oil production. Speaking to GHOne News, Nana Frimpoma Ahin, team lead for economic transformation at the British High Commission, emphasized the program's focus on sustainable development and inclusive growth.
The program Transform is a program that supports small businesses with innovative ideas for communities, to create jobs. And these companies have won these grants. They have shown that with a little bit of support, a little bit of advisory, a little bit of support, they can create solutions that can support development and support the communities in Ghana.
Also speaking at the event was Michael Saki, a partner at EY, who outlined the company's role in mentoring and scaling the supported enterprises.
Our role is to provide advisory support. As you may be aware, EY is a professional services firm. We provide audits, we provide consulting services, we provide transactions-related services, as well as tax. So some of the things we intend to do for them, one is around helping them to put together business plans, financial models, advice to help them to be more cost-effective, how they can change their operating models to be more effective and agile, things like that.
One of the beneficiaries, Philomena Asante, founder of the Minana Services, expressed her gratitude for the timely intervention and shared her plans for expansion.
So we are so thankful to the funders, we are so thankful to Unilever, we are thankful to EY, we are thankful to the UK Aid and UK High Commission. This is a big win for women in palm oil processing and then palm farming. We are so grateful, and we know that this partnership is going to empower us and help us in our livelihood in Ghana. And the impact we are hoping to gain is to be able to bring in more people to undertake sustainable practices in terms of converting palm oil waste like the shells, like the cake, even the palm oil wastewater into useful products under the transform. We are hoping also to teach more of our farmers to take on good farming practices and sustainable practices in their farming.
Established in 2015, Transform has supported impactful entrepreneurs through the 12 million cedis in grant funding. To date, these efforts have reached more than 12 million people across Ghana.
Well, still in business this afternoon, I'm sure that you're aware that Ghana's inflation has slowed from 22.4% to 21.2%, and there's been a lot of reaction from the business community. So this morning, or this afternoon rather, joining us for a conversation is Communications Officer of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GHOne, Joseph Paddy. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Paddy. So what strategies will you implement to benefit from the ease in inflationary pressures and also potentially offer some price relief to customers?
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon to your listeners and your viewers online. Yes, it's true. We've seen some stability. We've seen some inflation dropping from 20 to 21. And we have also seen that exchange rate is also dropping from 13 to 7.5, which is a welcome news to the trading community, because what our complaints cost of doing business in the country is extremely high. And so you can see that for some time now you've been seeing some price stability in the market space. Because for the past 3-4 months, we've not seen any change in the exchange rate rather than coming down. But one of the areas we have to look into is that they're using the policy rate that Bank of Ghana used to check inflation is also moving around 28%. And because of that, when you go to the commercial bank to borrow, the lending rate is around 35 to 40%. So the question here is that what is the relationship between the policy rate and inflation? But that's what they use to check policy to check inflation. So if we want to see a reduction of price of goods and services in the market space in the community, we also have to fight to make sure that interest rates is reduced, comes down. And interest rates can always come down as a result when the policy rate is being reviewed downward by the Monetary Policy Committee.
So for the business community, you're saying that for consumers to enjoy the benefits, we must also look at the policy rate.
Yeah, we must look at the policy rate and the interest rate from the commercial bank. Right. Because you go and borrow at a rate of 35 to 40%. Which businessman or businesswoman can trade under that dispensation and even break even or maximize profit? Okay. Yeah, so these are the areas we have to consider. Right. But for now, as a result of exchange rate stability and the cedi being appreciated, we're seeing some stable pricing in the market for the past few months. Unlike before, where you wake up today, a good that is sold for 12 cedis, the next moment you go to the market is 13 cedis because of the fluctuation of the exchange rate.
Mr. Paddy, thank you so much. That's Joseph Paddy. He is Communications Officer for GHOne, Ghana Union of Traders Association. Bringing us time now for sports.
Joining me here on Sports Brief. My name is Monica Bukari. Now, Arsenal have been eliminated from the Champions League at the semi-final stage after a second leg defeat in 8 days against Paris Saint-Germain. Bukayo Saka scored the late 4 minutes later, which would have cut the deficit down to 1. Fabian Ruiz and Achraf Hakimi had scored for the French champions either side of halftime to give them 3-0 aggregate lead in the tie. PSG will now face the Inter Milan in the final in Munich on May 31. Let's now hear from both managers Mikel Arteta and Luis Enrique.
First of all, congratulate PSG for being in the final. Talking about merits, I think we deserve much more. When you analyze both games, who's been their best player, the MVP, has been the same player, the goalkeeper. And the Champions League is decided in the boxes, and he's won the game for them, because obviously today, after 20 minutes, and what happened in London as well, the result should have been very different. So I can take a lot of positives, and I'm very proud of the team. You have to arrive in the competition at this stage with your full squad, full available, in best condition. We haven't got that. So let's put that aside. It's still the team that I've seen today against probably one of the best, or not the best team in Europe. It gives me so much pride. But at the same time, I'm so upset, so annoyed that we didn't manage to do it. And two things that are on us, probably not together. And other things that obviously the opponent at this level has the quality to deliver, like Donnarumma is on today again.
I don't agree at all. Mikel Arteta is a great friend, but I don't agree at all. I think they played in a clever way today, and they get the match to the right moment for them, because they play in the way they want and they love to play. But I think in the 2 legs we score more goals than them, and in football it's the most important thing. But I have to say, Arsenal, they did it great. They played a great match, and we suffered a lot. I think it's the match that we suffer the most. Sorry, and I think we deserve to get the final. They are a great team as well.
Now, away from the Champions League, let's now do some volleyball games. And Ghana Army hosted their Air Force opponent in week 10 of the ongoing Greater Accra Volleyball League fixture at the Birmingham Supply Court. In a pulsating duel of 4 sets, Ghana Army proved tough customers for Air Force, who are noted for their aerial ability, fell short of their mark, losing the first set 24-26. It repeated in the second and third set when Army recorded a score of 25-21 and 25-15. The fourth and final set went to Ghana Air Force, but Ghana Army had secured the needed win to carry the day.
We've been playing Air Force for a decade of season, and they've been a torment in our life, especially in volleyball. So coming into this game, I realized that they use more in their middle. So I need to see the middle, then do more defensive work. So if you could see, I even substitute the opposite player and bring a passer so that we can get more pass to load our outside hitters. That was the tricks I used to win the game. As we have achieved something here. That's on this the first round, and the second round we're going to go back to them. You can, yes, surely. This is the first time, and then this will be the last time it has happened this way.
Oh, it's a tough game. You know, Ghana Air Force is not a team that we can juggle with. They are a team that even though we are all armed forces, but they are our rivals. So the game is tough, but we were able to beat them 3-2.
And that's it for sports. But for more sports, do join us at 1 p.m. here on GHOne TV and, of course, on Star FM. My name is Monica Bukari. Back to you, Joshua.
Many thanks, Monica Bukari, for breaking. And on the international front, what we do know is that in the chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel, that means that there is no pope as of yet. We also do know that 133 cardinals have gathered in the conclave to be able to elect a new pope, who who would head the Vatican City, has also head the church. The cardinals then returned to their residence at Casa Santa Marta for further reflection ahead of today's ballot. Now, this morning, black smoke appeared again after the first 2 votes of the day, confirming that a new pope has not yet been chosen. As always, black smoke signals no agreement. White smoke will signal the election of the 267th pontiff. Now, the 133 cardinals electors remain in total isolation inside the Sistine Chapel. A 2/3 majority, at least 89 votes, are required to elect a new pope. So that's it for this package here on Newsroom here on GHOne Television. There's more news for you at starfm.com.gh. I am Joshua Kujumensa. Good afternoon.